Hello, I'm Dr. J.E. Caterson, JSOU faculty member, master instructor, and executive subject matter expert that serves as the director for US SOCOM Special Operations Chaplains Advanced Courses program here at the Joint Special Operations University. I came to the fight 15 years ago at the invitation of the Chief of Chaplains to work on holistic military fitness, or what we call comprehensive military fitness, traveling 45 weeks a year for over 6 years from 2009 to 2014. And then I was invited to stand up the US SOCOM Special Operations Chaplains Graduate Certificate Program in 2014. The process began back in 2016 in the Special Operations Chaplains Graduate Certificate Program, when we discovered that a reimagined PME approach to dealing with soft moral injury was absolutely essential. What we found through extensive research, that in order to get at moral injury, it was going to be imperative for us to utilize and to leverage narrative models for overcoming and healing soft related issues, moving from moral drift to moral injury to even PTSD. In 2019, US SOCOM's Command Chaplain's Office, along with Joint Special Operations University, hosted the Moral Injury Symposium in Washington, D.C., with many of the white papers coming from student scholars, as well as the SMEs that taught in our program, to be able to get intentionally at the things that we were trying to do in the monograph. In the interim, U.S. Special Operations Command had its comprehensive review. And so this gave us the opportunity to do a deeper dive into the moral dilemma continuum that takes into account the ethical and moral decisions that a soft warrior is confronted with on an ongoing basis, and their implications for moral drift, moral injury, and PTSD. I was privileged to be the faculty member and to be the advisor. I also asked to be a co-author on the monograph, Moral Injuries, Implications for US SOF and Ethical Resiliency. Our team included Dr. M.C. Edgarson, one of the leading behavior ethicists in the world, Dr. Dave Wood, who is the lead psych for 19th Special Forces Group, and Matthew, who is transitioning from being a Navy NCO to a Navy chaplain candidate. Now, moral injury in SOF is an invisible enemy. Moral injury results from individual experience that involves perception of either personally perpetrating, which we call commission, or witnessing, which is omission, or being ordered by a leader, which is direction, to violate the moral values. Individual perception is the key. We cannot, I have to stress this, tell an individual how they feel about a traumatic experience and what that means to them. It is their experience, and they are the expert of their own individual wounds. Moral injury, others sometimes called soul wounds, can be characterized by guilt, shame, anger, disgust within the individual. Here's the bottom line. Soft warriors are not just human, but they're meaning makers. And they don't just stop making meaning once they put on their military uniform. So our job is to discover what helps the individual warrior to both make sense of and meaning from the chaos of war. This points to the importance of meaning making in the healing process, where there is a difference between the sacred and the profane. This calls for a reimagined soft PME in moral injury. The moral injury team continues to work on a larger context on moral injury, which includes a comprehensive moral injury typology with both the 3 archetypes of moral injury in SOF, 6 supertypes, and 24 subtypes. And it's a very exciting project because it's going to help us into changing both the identification to intervention and integration of the healing process for moral injury within the Special Operations Forces. I've had a number of good pieces of advice that, in my career, especially as I've come nearly 10 years ago to join Special Operations. But I'd say that the two best ones that I've ever heard is one, if it interests my commander, my team leader, my boss, it fascinates me. And then number two is sometimes it is the people who no one imagines anything of, who do the things that no one can imagine. I believe they are mutually dependent on each other. The practitioner must continually be engaged in the educational process, and the educator must continually be engaged in praxis, which is the process of theory, lesson, skill that is enacted, embodied, realized, and even applied and put into practice. As a matter of fact, next week we're going up to the United States Air Force Chief of Chaplains Summit, where we're going to try to put this into practice, where the educator is going to be interacting with the practitioner is going to be interacted with the educator. And in turn, we're hoping that the outcome is going to be that this is going to have great impact on the entire force.